Discover the amazing secret to happiness. Stop comparing. Uncover transformative joy in 30 days. Jenna sat at her cluttered desk in the local medical office, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, drowning out the cacophony of ringing phones and distant conversations. She scanned the endless paperwork, feeling each unfiled document weigh heavily on her. Responsibilities as a 34-year-old single mother pushed down on her chest like a lead blanket, stifling her every breath. Outside the window, bright summer days seemed to laugh at her. She glanced at Facebook only to see picture-perfect families and sunny vacations. Each toe in the sand, each joyous smile deepened her unease, gnawing at the question that echoed relentlessly in her mind. Why wasn't she enough? Every month the bills piled higher. The car repair, the groceries, and the never-ending medical expenses for Lily, her blossoming teenager, gnawed at her. She should have been proud of making it this far, but every ding of the notification icon felt like another chain attached to her spirit. Her worth validated only by comparisons that left her empty. The crushing realization that her dreams had been sidelined only intensified as she watched her daughter earn herself a slot in a prestigious university's competitive art program. A flame of pride flickered inside her, yet alongside it, jealousy began to bloom. "Mom, I got in." Lily's voice pierced through the chaos like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Yet all Jenna felt was the chill that seemed so familiar, the fear of inadequacy. As she watched her daughter become a confident young woman, Jenna's own dreams felt like wisps of smoke drifting just out of reach. Each talent Lily nurtured only emphasized her own silence in the shadows. In desperate need of distraction, Jenna found herself at a local art exhibit one evening, where Sam's vibrant paintings called to her in a way she hadn't anticipated. His warm demeanor enveloped her, sparking a buried passion that she barely recognized. "You should try it," he encouraged with a genuine smile, coaxing her to pick up a brush. As she smeared paint across the canvas, Jenna felt something awaken, a dormant talent that had languished under the weight of her responsibilities. But then came the family secret, a hidden property left behind by her father, a legacy she had no desire to confront. The news crashed over her like a tidal wave, pulling her under. Every stroke of paint, once a lifeline, now became a reminder of the expectations tied to that inherited estate. She was torn between pursuing an uncertain artistic path and the pressure to uphold the family's name. Tension tightened her muscles. Irregular breathing filled the empty spaces of her mind as she shuttled between dreams and duty. What would it mean to embrace her own individuality? Would it sever the string connecting her to Lily's aspirations? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. And then, in the midst of her awakening, Lily approached her with a question. A delicate probing that blared like a siren in Jenna's mind. "Mom, what makes you happy?" It felt like a blade digging deeper into already raw flesh, spotlighting Jenna's internal struggle as she gazed at her daughter, the pressing need to be an example while mired in her own self-doubt. The confrontation with her past loomed so heavy, shadowing every brushstroke and bright hope she'd begun to weave. As the evening dimmed outside the window, the weight of expectations pressed harder than ever. Would she let go of everything she believed she should be? Would she risk it all to chase the glimmers of joy that danced just out of reach? In that moment, Jenna stood at the precipice of her identity, a tension thick enough to choke on, leaving both her and Lily wondering where their futures would lead. Jenna's hand trembled as she set down the paintbrush, the canvas before her awash with color, yet marred by uncertainty. The question Lily had posed clung to her like a damp fog, obscuring her vision of what lay ahead. What made her happy? The answer felt elusive, teasing her with whispers of fulfillment that danced just beyond reach as she sank deeper into thought. The studio around her transformed from a sanctuary of inspiration to a battleground for her inner conflict. Each vibrant hue seemed to echo the life she had neglected, a life of passion and creativity muffled beneath layers of obligation. It was time to confront that truth, she realized. But how? Returning to the reality of her cramped desk at work, Jenna resolved she would not be swept away by fear any longer. She planned to find her voice, to carve out a space for herself amid the daily grind. She began small. There was no need to rush headlong into chaos. After all, ambition was a marathon, not a sprint. While filing away the frustrating pile of paperwork, she couldn't help but notice the art supplies she had been accumulating on her evening trips to the gallery. Each brush and canvas represented a dream she had nearly forgotten, a dream she now wished to nurture. That evening, instead of scrolling through the glaring perfection of others' lives on social media, she let herself dive into the new world of artistic expression. With each brushstroke, her hands became more steady, more assured. Splashes of paint dripped from her fingertips, colors blending with intentions not only to create but to liberate. The walls around her began to let breathe a personality long stifled, her inner artist finally stepping into the light. Who would care what the family legacy dictated? With each canvas, she was not merely creating art. She was reclaiming her identity. She began sharing her work, tentatively at first. Post here, a story there. The digital applause felt foreign, strange, yet intoxicating. As likes trickled in, she pondered not how they compared to Lily's achievements, but how they reflected her journey. Bit by bit, feedback transformed into motivation. It was exhilarating. Over dinner the next evening, Jenna chose her words carefully as she spoke to Lily. I started painting more. I want to explore this part of myself. Watching her daughter's face light up with excitement ignited a spark within Jenna. Engaging in candid conversation about their aspirations, they exchanged dreams, art, and ambition across the table, a mutual exploration. Days turned into weeks, and while hope began repairing the fissures of resentment and jealousy, the burden of the family property loomed larger. Visions of the estate tugged at her, inviting her to confront the past directly. In one particularly sleepless night, she found herself staring up at the ceiling, imagining the hidden rooms, forgotten heirlooms, and the deep-seated obligations trapped within those four walls. What if the property could be a guilt-free canvas? A chance to redefine her role within her family while embracing her individuality. The thought was both liberating and paralyzing. Who was she to peel back family secrets? Yet within that uncertainty lay a potential for growth, a potential she had to explore. Jenna knew the moment was approaching, a crossroads where she could redefine her path. The question remained: would she step into her true self, or would she remain tethered by expectations? The choice would not only define her but also shape her daughter's perceptions of courage and authenticity. As illumination peeled back layers of hesitation, Jenna clung to that flicker of possibility. The time had come, and she could feel the tremor of change vibrating through her. Smoothing the creases of her thoughts, she realized there was a vibrant life waiting on the other side. A thrilling confrontation with her inherited legacy loomed nearer, and a decision awaited her, one that could either cement her fears or finally liberate her spirit. Tomorrow, she would face the truth. Would she embrace or reject the family property? Would stepping into her own identity empower her to forge a new path toward happiness? The morning dawned gray and hazy, a fitting reflection of Jenna's swirling thoughts. As she prepared herself for the day, each mundane action felt amplified, every movement highly charged with anticipation. The family property awaited her, heavy with history and expectation. Would it confine her or empower her? At work, the buzz of her colleagues seemed distant, muted by her internal dialogue. They greeted her with their usual niceties, unaware of the tremor in her heart, the frenetic energy swirling just beneath her calm facade. Jenna squeezed the small wooden carving she kept at her desk, her own token reminder of creativity and her newly embraced self. With it, she hoped to channel courage as she navigated through a web of obligation and choice. When lunchtime rolled around, Jenna's fingers hesitated over her phone. She envisioned the estate, its sprawling grounds, the echoes of her childhood in its walls. With one swift motion, she typed in the address of the property and hit search. The images of that old Victorian flooded her screen, haunting and beautiful. Each photo stirred a mixture of apprehension and intrigue within her. Determined to reclaim that space, she reached out to a local contractor she'd heard good things about. Sharing her vision on the phone, Jenna felt a surge of adrenaline. "I'd like to renovate the property," she declared, her voice steady despite her pulse racing. "Make it somewhere I can use, maybe even turn into a gallery, a place for art to breathe." As the conversation flowed, she felt something shift inside her. A flicker of agency amidst the fears tethering her to the past. After they hung up, a wave of exhaustion washed over her, but alongside it came exhilaration, a high that tasted of novelty and possibility. When she returned home, Lily was already immersed in one of her canvas projects, the bright colors contrasting sharply with her mother's subdued gray thoughts. Watching her daughter, Jenna felt a swell of pride accompanied by a tinge of guilt. Had she not pursued art, how might Lily perceive her choices? Each brushstroke by her daughter illuminated Jenna's uncertainty. "Mom, can I show you what I've been working on?" Lily's voice broke through Jenna's reverie, pulling her into the present moment. The pride in her daughter's eyes reignited that spark of commitment Jenna had begun to cultivate. They stood together, surrounded by colors and creativity, both figuring out their places in the world. After dinner, with a cup of tea warming her hands, Jenna sat at the kitchen table, allowing her thoughts to drift back to the estate. It was a daunting task ahead: the renovations, the possible confrontations with family members who would expect her to retain its original state. Yet she understood that her reluctance stemmed not from the estate itself but from her long-standing tendency to prioritize others' expectations over her desires. She opened her sketchbook, blank pages waiting for inspiration, and began to outline her vision for the property. Each stroke on the page helped clarify her goals. She would create a studio space, a gallery, perhaps even a haven for other aspiring artists who needed a place to thrive. Outside, the night sky filled with twinkling stars, each one seemingly beckoning her forward into the cosmos of her own potential. But beneath it all, Jenna felt the weight of something sinister lurking. What if she failed? What if this journey uncovered more than just dreams, unearthing resentments tied to family legacies not easily untangled? The reality struck hard as she closed the sketchbook that night. Embracing her identity meant facing not only her hopes but also her fears. Double-checking the time for her visit to the estate tomorrow, she realized the magnitude of her upcoming choice. With sleep refusing to claim her in the early morning hours, Jenna's mind spiraled through every possible scenario. Did she have the courage to tear down walls, both metaphorical and physical? Tomorrow she would confront not only the property, but the ghosts of her past, as well the expectations that threatened to strangle her newfound ambitions. The moment of resolve finally clutched at her heart, echoing within. How far would she go to build the life she yearned for, or would she retreat once again into the shadows of familial obligation? Determined to explore the property, Jenna anticipated what awaited her. Some secrets were meant to be discovered, but some might just draw deeper battles within. The drive to the estate felt like navigating through a fog, the landscape obscured but filled with vague memories pressing against her consciousness. Jenna's hands tightened on the steering wheel as she inhaled deeply, trying to steady the storm of thoughts swirling within. Each mile brought her closer to an uncharted terrain of both past and possibility. Parking near the entrance, she stepped out and inhaled the earthy aroma of the damp ground, a stark contrast to the sterile environment of her office. The estate loomed before her, its weathered facade a formulation of her aspirations and anxieties. She allowed herself a moment to absorb the history woven into those walls, a legacy bound by expectations severed from her desires. Standing there, she realized that this property held the keys to rekindling her relationship with both herself and her daughter. Jenna walked up to the entrance, each step echoing the choice she was about to face. As she pushed open the heavy door, the creaks and groans sounded like mournful reminders of her hesitations. The interior was cloaked in shadows, but beams of sunlight filtered through the dirty windows, illuminating patches of dust that danced gracefully in the air. She felt a weight lift as she stepped inside, the faint smell of wood and nostalgia flooding her senses. Finding her way to the main room, Jenna paused to observe the peeling wallpaper and the cracked floorboards. Memories unclogged like a long-stopped drain, laughter of family gatherings, the warmth of chaos during the holidays, and the quiet moments of reflection she stole as a child. But alongside those golden recollections, darker recollections surfaced. The suffocating weight of expectations, the silent demands that kept her tethered to a version of herself that no longer existed. Shaking off the heaviness, Jenna reached into her bag and retrieved her sketchbook. Looking around, she began to mentally map out her ideas for the renovation's bright colors, open spaces, and art in every corner. Her vision burned brightly against the backdrop of her fears. This was her moment to breathe life into both the property and herself. Each sketch would be more than just lines on a page. It would be an act of rebellion against the family's constraints she sketched. The room transformed in her mind, walls bursting with color, her own artwork adorning them, encouraging minds and spirits to grow. This would no longer be merely a house tethered to others' memories, but a sanctuary unapologetically reflecting her soul's evolution. Suddenly, the heavy silence shattered as a voice broke through her reverie, a voice she recognized all too well. "What are you doing here, Jenna?" It was her brother, Marco. The tone of his voice was a mixture of surprise and challenge, as if he had been waiting for her to make a misstep. The tension thickened, and Jenna's heart raced. Marco had always been the embodiment of the family's legacy. Dutiful, responsible, and impeccably aligned with the status quo. His presence was both a comfort and a threat, a reminder of all she had been running from. "I came to see the estate," Jenna replied, a conviction accumulating in her voice, though she felt herself falter beneath the weight of his gaze. "See, or take it?" he questioned, stepping closer, a smirk on his lips that felt abrasive against the budding resolve she had fostered. "You know we have our obligations here." Jenna's pulse quickened. She could feel a battleground of ideals push against one another, the expectation of conformity versus the fierce desire for freedom. "It's not about taking, Marco. It's about reclaiming." The fire in her words surprised even her, stirring something deep within her that even she hadn't recognized. Marco's expression shifted, the smirk fading, replaced by a flicker of something more complex, maybe curiosity or concern. The confrontation had begun, the promise of deeper conflict looming ahead. Each challenge from him would draw forth the truth of her ambitions, but would it also force her to confront the shadows of familial loyalty that shaped her? As the air thickened with unspoken fears and possibilities, Jenna knew this was only the beginning of her journey, not just to renovate, but to rediscover who she truly was. Suddenly, something clicked. A secret revelation drummed in her mind. It wasn't just about the structure of the estate. It was about reconstructing the very identity she had lost beneath layers of expectation. Steeling herself, Jenna wondered if maturity would be gained not through conflict, but through understanding. And as she stood facing Marco, with the estate behind her and clarity ahead, she felt that perhaps she was not only ready to face her fears but also to uncover her own strength while testing the boundaries of their relationship. But little did she realize, deep-rooted familial secrets were waiting. Secrets that would challenge everything she thought she knew. What truths would emerge to confront her? The unyielding silence that enveloped them seemed to amplify the intensity of the moment. Jenna felt her pulse in her throat as she studied her brother's face, searching for a flicker of understanding amidst the challenge he presented. It was disconcerting to maneuver through this familial battlefield, where love and loyalty had become intricate webs punctuated by unspoken resentments. Reclaiming, Marco's brow furrowed, a blend of confusion and concern shaping his features. "What does that even mean for you, Jenna? This estate isn't just yours to do with as you wish. We've always had responsibilities." His emphasis on "we" was a reminder of the chains bound by family history, and for a moment, fear prickled at the edges of her resolve. Jenna stepped back, exhaling sharply. Her first instinct was to retreat into silence, to let familiar anxiety slither back into her mind, but she stood firm. "What if it is, Marco? What if that's the only way I can find my path?" Her voice gained strength, echoing off the walls that had watched her struggles and triumphs. Marco remained stoic, but the shift in his demeanor didn't go unnoticed. Jenna realized he was used to being the protector of tradition, the keeper of their parents' expectations. He was the anchor holding her back, the sturdy lifeline in a sea of obligation. But now, she felt more like a ship eager to break free. I can't just continue existing the way our family dictates. I need to create something that reflects who I really am. His incredulous stare cut deeper than any blade. And who are you? You've been out of this family dynamic for so long. How do you expect to just waltz back and decide what's best? A sudden rush of clarity descended upon her. No longer did tension flow like a river. It became a catalyst for transformation. By choosing to be honest about what I want. This isn't just about the estate. It's about me reclaiming my narrative. I may lack certain experiences in this space, but I'm willing to learn, reshape, and redefine. That growth? As Jenna spoke, she sensed a shift not just within herself but in the atmosphere around them. Weeds of doubt began to crack apart, the sunlight of her convictions pushing through. Marco's brows knit together, the conflict written plainly across his face. She dared to hope that beneath those layers he might just understand. I don't want to destroy our family legacy, she added quickly, watching the tension begin to unravel. I just want to rebuild it, reinvent it into something we can all be proud of, not chained to. In that moment, the stakes felt monumental. A decision loomed over her: either she could keep probing for acceptance or establish boundaries that invited deeper, more honest dialogue. Could Marco really understand the urgency of her vision? I wish it was that simple, he replied, although there was a tremor to his usual certainty. We can't simply dismiss our parents' dreams. You're proposing a change that might fracture what we've always known. But what about my dreams? Jenna pressed. They're just as important. I'm tired of feeling invisible. If I can't carve out a space for myself here, where will I ever feel free? His silence was deafening, the weight of her words on his shoulders heavier than any obligation he'd ever felt. As they stood amidst dust and memories, Jenna decided to lean into the discomfort, an action of reclaiming her agency. What if we found a way together? Marco finally asked, uncertainty lingering in his voice. Jenna blinked, surprised. Was he actually entertaining the idea of collaboration? Hope merged with challenge, igniting another layer of resolve in her. What do you mean? She could sense a transformation brewing, and her mind raced with possibilities. This could lead to dialogue she hadn't thought possible, a means to redefine not only the estate but their relationship. She could feel the momentum shifting. Walls that had once been insurmountable were showing signs of weakness. But just then, an ominous crack echoed through the hall, drawing their attention towards a corner she hadn't noticed before. A hidden door, ajar, breathed mystery into the atmosphere. It beckoned not just questions about the estate but the very history she was trying to engage with. What lay behind that door? Caught between the revelations she had begun to stir and the secrets waiting to be uncovered, Jenna felt time itself press on her shoulders. She could pursue the road of familial understanding or step through the threshold of the unknown, knowing it would alter everything. And she had to choose. As Jenna and Marco exchanged uncertain glances, a shiver of anticipation coursed through her veins. A new challenge awaited her, one that could reshape not only her relationship with her brother, but also the entire narrative of their family's legacy. Would she step through the door, embracing whatever lay beyond? A heavy, still air enveloped Jenna as she stared at the open door, intrigue battling with apprehension in her mind. What lay behind it felt like an echo of her own uncertainties and a potential key to the future she was trying to carve out. Marco's presence beside her was both comforting and suffocating. His approval was crucial, yet she felt a desire to plunge forward alone, to claim this moment as her own. Are you going to check it out, or what? Marco's voice trembled slightly, revealing more than bravado. For the first time, Jenna saw a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, softened by the vulnerability he'd long hidden beneath the guise of familial duty. Together, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. He had suggested a partnership. This was her chance to usher in transparency. Who knew what secrets lay behind this door? As they moved closer, the wooden floor creaked beneath their footsteps, reverberating through the house like the heartbeat of their legacy struggling to find peace. As Jenna pushed the door open further, a gust of stale air rushed past her, filled with the scent of old paper and dust. The dim light filtered through a crack in the shadows, illuminating what looked like a forgotten study, filled with book-laden shelves, yellowed pages, and faded photographs. Her pulse quickened with every detail she absorbed, recognizing the remnants of a life left behind. "What is all this?" Marco asked, his initial hesitation dissipating as curiosity wrapped around his words like tentative vines. Each inquiry felt like a bridge, pulling them closer together yet distancing Jenna from her previous facade. "Maybe it's what we need to understand our family better," she replied, stepping cautiously inside. Fear was a distant whisper now, overshadowed by a dawning resolve that threatened to wash over her entire being. Flipping through one of the worn books, she found hastily written notes in the margins, an intimate glimpse into her parents' thoughts and dilemmas. It felt personal strategies, dreams, disappointments, ideas for the estate that had never seen the light of day. Marco kneeled beside her, his fingers brushing over the brown pages. "These are their plans? Why didn't I ever know?" The disbelief in his voice peeled away layers of denial she hadn't realized existed. "Because we were never meant to see," Jenna answered, piecing together fragments of their childhood. "Maybe that's part of the chains keeping us from understanding where we come from so we could break free." Jenna felt a fire ignite within her, the realization of hidden narratives colliding with her quest for liberation. As they rummaged through the study, Jenna uncovered more than just relics of the past. Old photographs revealed sides of their parents she had never considered. Moments of joy, laughter, and aspirations for the future that didn't center around responsibilities or expectations. She saw her mother's youthful face beaming with pride, holding a trophy Jenna had never known existed. Marco's reaction mirrored her astonishment as they pulled out more memorabilia, each piece an unexplored chapter of their family's narrative. "What if we can honor these dreams?" Marco reacted, his voice steadying. "Not like before, bound to tradition, but in a way that feels genuine to us. This could be our blueprint." Jenna's heart thudded, the weight of their history mingling with newfound possibilities. Could this be the foundation for their mutual vision, where dreams weren't crushing obligations but shared inspirations? But even as excitement bubbled between them, a thought pricked her brain. What if their parents' unfulfilled desires weren't the only things waiting to be uncovered? Gazing back into the dim corner of the room, where shadows lurked, she couldn't shake the feeling that more secrets lay within reach, asking to be explored. The journey toward accountability and understanding had begun, yet she was acutely aware that the questions they would uncover might just redefine who they believed themselves to be. "What if there is more to this family history than we imagined?" she whispered, heart racing, as she stepped further into the shadows. Marco stepped back, peering into the dark recesses behind the bookshelf. "Then let us find out," he said, determination restored in his voice. As they prepared to delve deeper into the undiscovered story ahead, Jenna felt the air shift, charged with anticipation. What revelations awaited them? Each step seemed to echo a broader inquiry. Would uncovering the truth empower them, or would it shatter the fragile truths they had begun to construct? As Jenna stepped further into the shadows, a shiver cascaded down her spine, a blend of fear and exhilaration. The dim light barely penetrated the corners of the study, where thick dust swirled like ghosts of memories begging to be acknowledged. She felt unmoored, suspended between the protective cocoon of ignorance and the demanding call of truth. "What if we uncover something we're not ready for?" she murmured, the question hanging in the air like a specter. Marco's response was immediate, a tight knot of defiance forming in his brow. "We can't keep running from this. Whatever it is, it's part of us." His words felt like a lifeline, tugging her closer to the edge of discovery. Together, they turned their attention back to the shadows, shifting furniture aside until a hidden compartment revealed itself. Jenna's breath quickened as she pried open the aged panel. Inside lay an assortment of documents. Wills, letters, and an old journal, its leather cover cracked with age. As she held the journal in her hands, the weight of it pressed down on her, pregnant with the potential for revelation. "Look at this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Marco peered over her shoulder, his eyes wide with a mix of apprehension and intrigue. "What does it say?" Jenna flipped it open, scanning the faded script. "It looks like notes from one of Mom's meetings, but there's something else," she replied, her fingers trembling slightly as she read a passage detailing frustrations about family expectations and dreams that never saw fulfillment. It resonated deeply within her, feelings she had wrestled with her entire life. With each turn of the page, a tapestry of emotions unfolded: her mother's hopes, fears, and the struggle against the suffocating weight of tradition. Jenna realized that the words were not simply reflections of her mother's life, but also mirrors of her own internal battles, condensed within the delicate lines. "This is its raw," Marco observed, leaning in closer. "I never knew she felt this way." "Neither did I," Jenna replied, suddenly aware of how little they had shared with each other over the years. The familial bond that once felt like a chain now offered the potential for liberation. But could they truly break free from their inherited burdens and embrace this newfound truth? A swell of determination replaced the initial fear coursing through her veins. "We can take this and make something of it. We can learn from their mistakes, forge our own paths," Jenna proclaimed, her voice gaining strength with each word. Marco nodded, though uncertainty flickered behind his eyes. "But what if it changes everything? What if we have to shed parts of ourselves we've always relied on?" Jenna held his gaze, the vulnerability in his expression a stark reminder of their shared fragility. "That's exactly what we have to do. It might hurt, but isn't it worth it to live authentically?" Swallowing hard, Marco seemed to contemplate her words. She could see the wheels turning behind his brooding gaze. It was a moment of reckoning. They were on the cusp of unveiling more than just familial history. This was about dismantling the confines of their identities, embracing both the light and darkness within. Jenna felt a wave of defiance swell within her, one that urged her to confront not only their past but her aspirations for the future. "Whatever we find, it doesn't have to define us. Can be a launchpad." Suddenly, a creak split the air, a reminder that they were not alone in this exploration, an echo of a past that loomed larger than the present. "What was that?" Marco asked, stepping back, eyes darting to the door. The question thrummed in the atmosphere, heavy with anxiety and trepidation. Jenna's heart raced. Perhaps they weren't just unearthing family secrets. Perhaps they were tapping into something more profound, something that would demand that they finally confront their truths. "Let us go check it out," Jenna said, a growing pulse of resolve prompting her forward into the unknown, ready to confront whatever waited behind the threshold. As she grasped the doorknob, the chilling realization hit her. Some doors should never be opened. Would they find the key to their liberation, or uncover something far more sinister hiding just beneath the surface? As Jenna turned the knob, a heavy door creaked open, releasing a gust of stale air that smelled of old wood and hidden histories. Apprehension seeped into her bones. The unknown beckoned even as fear threatened to paralyze her. With Marco close behind, she hesitated just long enough to catch his eye and silently communicate her resolve. The room beyond was dimly lit, with only the frail beams of light from an adjacent window struggling to breach the shadows. It felt like stepping into a purgatory, a space suspended between past and present, where secrets lay dormant in the dust. Jenna's instincts surged, urging her to move forward. Yet the crumbling photographs lining the walls felt like judgmental eyes staring back at her, reproaching her for her inaction. "What do you think is back here?" Marco whispered, his voice steady but edged with anticipation. "I don't know," she admitted, fighting the instinct to retreat. "But whatever it is, it's a part of us. And I need to understand it." That statement felt heavy, weighted with the enormity of what lay ahead. The search wasn't merely for familial secrets. It became more about her own identity, the threads of her mother's and her own narratives intertwining in ways she had never dared to explore. As she stepped deeper into the room, her gaze caught something perched on a dusty table, a small, ornate box, its features ornately etched but dulled by time. Jenna moved instinctively towards it, finding her pulse quickening as she lifted the lid. Inside was a collection of forgotten trinkets, each with a story that spoke of dreams, loves, and losses. "Jenna, look at this." Marco's voice reached her, stirring her from her reverie. He held up an old photograph of their mother as a young woman, radiant and full of life, beside a man who bore no resemblance to their father. Instant recognition flooded Jenna with a mix of emotions, curiosity, and dread intertwining as she sensed the implications. "What is this?" Jenna asked incredulously, taking the photograph from Marco. The woman in the picture seemed both familiar and foreign, radiating a longing that echoed Jenna's own concealed aspirations. "I don't know, but it means something," Marco stated, his brows knit together. Could it mean that she was never really happy? That she built her life on something she didn't want? The question loomed larger than physical space, striking a nerve deep within Jenna. She had spent years trying to mold herself into the person she thought her family expected her to be. In this moment, as the weight of the photograph sank in, she felt the stirrings of a suppressed desire to forge her own unique path, a life untethered to inherited expectations. Jenna's fingers brushed over the photograph, each texture resonating with the ache of her own unrealized dreams. The realization struck her: each item, each moment they unearthed was more than a relic. They were keys, unlocking truths hidden beneath the surface. What if confronting this past gives us the tools to shape our future? She mused aloud, her voice strengthening with each word. What if understanding what she wanted or didn't want can liberate us to follow our own passions? Marco nodded slowly, the tension in his body easing as he absorbed her revelation. But it also means we'll have to confront difficult truths, things we've been avoiding our entire lives. Exactly, Jenna asserted, her determination crystallizing. She could feel the potential for change radiating through her. They were standing at the precipice of a pivotal moment, one that would force them to deconstruct the identities they had clung to for so long. Yet, even as the promise of transformation flickered in the air, a sense of foreboding nestled in her core. What if there were layers to this family history far darker than they anticipated? Would unveiling these truths truly empower them, or would it burden them with questions too heavy to bear? As they continued their search, Jenna paused, reflecting on the choices before them. The path of self-discovery was fraught with uncertainty, yet the fear of remaining shackled to someone else's narrative was suffocating. Changing the course of their lives required courage and honesty, an unrelenting commitment to face whatever lay ahead. That in that silence, as both were lost in thought, a sudden thud echoed through the house, vibrating the very walls they stood within. Panic surged through Jenna like electricity. What was that? Marco's voice trembled, as they quickly locked eyes again, realization dawning that the past was not the only thing lurking in the shadows. They were not merely uncovering their legacy. Something else, something threatening, loomed close behind them, watching. "Let us go find out," Jenna replied, her heart racing. Her quest for truth had just escalated. The real adventure lay ahead, and the stakes had never been higher. Would their confrontation with the past fortify their resolve, or might it summon something far more sinister to challenge their futures? As Jenna stood in the dim light, the shadow of the thud lingering in her ears, a new resolve gripped her. The room had transformed from a mere repository of the past into a crucible for her own self-discovery. She exchanged a glance with Marco, their unspoken bond reinforcing her determination. Fear could not overshadow the imperative of confronting their family's truth. "Let us check it out," Jenna said, her voice steadier than she felt. She stepped cautiously toward the source of the sound, a door at the end of the room that seemed to draw them in like a magnet. Each creak of the old wood beneath her feet echoed her heartbeat, a reminder that she was about to cross a threshold, not just of wood and brass but of personal limits. Marco hesitated and then followed. "What if it's just the house settling?" he asked, though his eyes betrayed his own doubts. "Or something more?" she countered sharply but lightly, trying to mask her own nerves. Jenna understood the choice before them: to retreat back into the safety of ignorance or push forward into an unknown that could redefine them both. As she approached the door, Jenna's thoughts spiraled. Every fragment of her identity felt caught in limbo, suspended in uncertainty. What if this door contained truths about her mother? What if unraveling those truths would lead to revelations about her own life that she was unprepared for? It nagged at her that while everything seemed directed outward, she was grappling with a deeper question of identity. She reached for the doorknob, her hand trembling slightly. A quick intake of breath steadied her. Perhaps this was the moment she had been waiting for, not strictly a confrontation with the past but a step towards claiming her own narrative. One where she no longer felt the weight of expectations. With a swift turn, the door creaked open to reveal a small, cluttered room. Dust motes floated in the slivers of light, illuminating shelves stacked with old books and papers strewn about haphazardly. It looked like the remnants of a life abandoned but rich with stories. She felt both exhilarated and overwhelmed, each item an artifact of possibility. "Look at this," Marco called her over, gesturing toward a particularly large leather-bound journal resting precariously on a stack of books. Jenna rushed to his side, both of them kneeling among the scattered pages. The volume seemed to pulse with history, as if it held the key to understanding her mother's choices. When Marco carefully opened the journal, the yellowed pages revealed a meandering script filled with thoughts, dreams, and illustrations. Jenna leaned closer, captivated. "This is what she wanted," she whispered, glancing at the fluid words outlining clandestine wishes she had buried beneath responsibilities. "Or what she never realized she wanted," Marco suggested. A mix of concern and intrigue etched across his features. Maybe she didn't have the courage to pursue these things. Anger flared in Jenna. How could their mother have given in when there was so much vibrancy left in her dreams? It felt like a betrayal, further complicating Jenna's desire for autonomy. She wrestled with a growing anger towards a woman whose life, marked by so much potential, had not flourished in the way Jenna wanted, indeed, needed her to flourish. "Do you think she ever thought about what she could have become?" Jenna pondered out loud. Or was she simply too afraid to find out? "Maybe that's what we're doing," continuing her cycle of fear, Marco replied, a hint of realization dawning in his voice. "We can choose differently." Each word echoed in her mind, pushing Jenna to reevaluate her own choice to follow the path expected of her. If her mother had never confronted her desires, Jenna felt an intense urgency to change that trajectory. "What if we examine this fully?" Jenna proposed, her voice gaining strength. "What if we use this journal to guide our decisions moving forward? To ignite our passions?" "I think it's a brilliant idea," Marco said thoughtfully, his expression shifting from uncertainty to excitement. Just then, a cold breeze swept through the room, sending chills down her spine. She looked up abruptly as if it had blown in whispered warnings. They were not alone, and perhaps they were being observed by more than just the specter of their mother's life choices. Before she could voice her concern, a shadow moved in the corner of the room. Something primal tugged at Jenna, urging her to flee, and yet compelling her to stay and fight for her revelations. "There's more than just dusty memories hiding in this house," Jenna said, her heart racing. "We need to know who or what else is lurking in our shadows." Resolved, Jenna stood tall, faced the unknown with a sharpened awareness, and stepped back from the edge of retreat. The quest for their truth had only just begun, and she was not ready to let fear dictate her course. Would the upcoming revelations empower them, or would they challenge their very foundation of understanding? The next moment held the answer, and Jenna was ready to grasp it. Jenna felt the surge of determination rise within her, igniting an intense clarity as she stood on the threshold of a decisive moment. The history-bound space around her was replete with echoes of dreams long dimmed, but layers began peeling back, revealing not only her family's legacy, but the boundless potential for her own identity. Standing side by side with Marco, they shared an unspoken agreement, a pact forged in newfound resolve. It was then that Jenna made her choice. She would not simply navigate the remnants of her parents' unfulfilled aspirations. She would pave her own path and challenge the weighty expectations that held her down. "Let us dive deeper," Jenna said, her voice vibrant with purpose as she turned back to Marco, emboldened by their discoveries and the urgency pressing in from the shadows. The siblings ventured further into the room, uncovering yet another box. This one filled with letters that told an intertwining narrative of familial pressures and hidden desires. With each letter, Jenna pieced together fragments of her mother's heart, a woman caught between obligations and aspirations. Anger at the restrictive traditions circulated within her, but alongside that anger was a resolve to reshape her narrative not just for herself, but for the family that had been caught in this cycle of silence. "Look at this one," Marco said, his fingers delicately brushing over the faded script. He began reading aloud, words spilling forth like water from a long-tapped spring. "I wish I could be more than just a caretaker of dreams unfulfilled." Each word resonated deeply with Jenna. She could taste her mother's frustration, her yearning to defy the limits imposed upon her. With each revelation, Jenna's confidence solidified. She felt a kinship with the woman hidden within the pages, an echo of her own struggles and aspirations reaching across generations. It was here, in the remnants of their past, that Jenna recognized the responsibility she bore not only for her own dreams, but also for her daughter's future. She could reshape this legacy and reclaim her birthright to pursue happiness. Jenna turned to Marco, her eyes shimmering with resolve. "It's time to move forward. Let us not only honor their truths but create something new. A space that inspires, something our family can always be proud of, but on our terms." Marco nodded, excitement blooming through his previously troubled demeanor. "Yes, we can create an artistic hub, a sanctuary for expression with their story woven into it." In that moment, clarity surged, lighting the dark corners of their shared history. The tension that once felt oppressive began to dissipate, revealing a benevolent force, one pushing them towards transformation and reclamation of their identities. They could rewrite their legacy with letters saturated in ambition, and arts they left the hidden room behind. Jenna felt not just a sense of liberation washing over her but confidence blooming in her artistry, and in her ability to define her future. Walking outside into the sunlight, she looked at the estate that once felt like a burden, but now brimmed with potential. The renovation plans formed vividly in her mind, not just bricks and mortar, but a canvas for growth and hope. She met Marco's gaze and saw reflected back the understanding that he too was ready for this shift. Together they were ready to take control of their narrative and craft an identity freed from the rigid confines of expectation. Weeks passed. Vibrant life poured into the estate as they rolled up their sleeves, undertaking renovations and transforming the old Victorian home into a creative sanctuary and gallery. Conversations filled with laughter punctuated the air, as sweat and shared dreams manifested into real progress. Jenna's artwork adorned the walls as bright as her renewed spirit. Could this be the place where her artistic ambitions took root? Finally, the day arrived for the grand opening. Jenna stood at the entrance alongside Marco, the gallery buzzing with energy, filled with art, and a palpable spirit of new beginnings. They welcomed friends, family, and community into a space reveling in creativity and authenticity. "Mom!" Lily's bright voice caught her attention, and Jenna turned, beaming with pride. Her daughter was standing by a wall adorned with an art piece Jenna had created titled Reclamation, symbolizing her journey towards self-acceptance and purpose. It was both a testament to Jenna's growth and an invitation to everyone present to embrace their own narratives. "Can we make it together? Our stories?" Lily asked, her eyes gleaming with excitement and pride. Jenna knelt beside her daughter, feeling joy well in her chest. "Yes, dear. It's our time to create our own paths," she whispered, a wave of fulfillment washing over her. In that moment, Jenna had stepped not only into her aspirations, but had opened the door for her daughter to explore her own. As the gallery buzzed around her, Jenna felt the triumph resonate within. She had achieved what once seemed impossible, to forge a fulfilling life for herself and to inspire the generation that followed. They locked eyes, and Jenna understood that she had crafted more than just a gallery. She had cultivated a legacy filled with courage, authenticity, and inspiration. She could feel her mother's spirit among the vibrancy of the art, transformed not into a legacy of constraints, but a testament to passions given breath. This was achievement, true fulfillment, not just as an artist but as a mother, a sister, and a woman who reclaimed her narrative and defined her place in a world that demanded she be more than she ever believed she could. Now, the journey continues forward into horizons uncharted, each brushstroke a declaration of freedom and creative exploration. You need to subscribe now to stay tuned for exclusive emotional stories that inspire individual transformations. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and theories regarding this incredible conclusion. You want to miss connecting with fellow fans. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of personal growth and empowerment.